بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين.
Interpretation of the Holy Quran.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. With the grace of Allah, we began a brief commentary of Quran. We got to chapter Nisa, the first chapter of Quran, which is revealed in Medina. It has 176 verses. Please listen to verse 31.
إن تجتنبوا كبائر ما تنهون عنه نكفر عنكم سيئاتكم وندخلكم مدخلا كريما.
If you shun the great sins which you are forbidden, we will do away with your small sins and cause you to enter an honorable place of entering. In this verse, Allah says, if you avoid big sins, we are going to cover your small sins, we are going to forgive your small sins, and we allow you to enter paradise. Mudkhalan karima, it means an honorable place of entering, which is paradise. There is a discussion between scholars that what is the big sins or small sins, because here Allah promised that if you avoid and if you steer clear of big sins, Allah is going to forgive small sins. What is big sins or small sin? Great sin and small sins. There is an idea that says all the sins are big, since you are disobeying Allah, and because of that, even if you do something very, very small, still it is big sins. So in this idea, all the sins are big and we don't have small sins. This idea is not correct, because at the same time that this is true that all the sins are big, but we have a small sin too. Because Allah says in this verse that if you avoid and if you shy away from big sins, Allah is going to cover and forgive a small. It means we have big and small. So to say that all the sins are big and we don't have small sins is not correct, is not correct according to this verse and another verse that we have in verse 49 of chapter Kahf that I'm going to recite it. There is another idea which says all the sins, the big one is relative. It means all the sins are big comparing to the smaller than that, and the same sin is small comparing to something bigger than that. So when we say it is big, it is relative. When we say small, is relative. In another way, all the sins are big and small. Comparing to the one is bigger than that is small. Comparing to the one that is smaller than this sin is big sins. So, al-ma'as al-kabira, big sins are comparative according to this idea. But this idea also is not true, because it's not correct. Because at the same time that this is correct, that some of them are bigger than the others, but some of them are called according to Islamic style, Quranic view, some sins are considered big and some are small. Small is small and big is big. We cannot say all of them are bigger and big and small because of comparing to others. For example, killing an innocent person, we cannot say is a small. It is a sin according to Quran. We don't want to say it's the same as killing 100 people, but it is called big. Big and small according to Islamic view, Quranic view, what are they? In this verse, Allah said big sin and small sins. There is another verse in chapter Kahf, verse 49, that Allah says in resurrection day, when Allah gives the file of the people to them and they look at it, when they read it, they say, oh my God, everything is written. لا يقادر صغيرة ولا كبيرة إلا أحصاها. Allah did not leave a small sin or big sin unless Allah has counted and written in it. So we will see that Allah says big sin and a small sin, all of them are written. What are small and big? Until here, this verse, in this chapter Nisa, verse 31 and chapter Kahf, verse 49, will say that we have big sin and small sin. But what are the big sins and small sins? As we understand through narrations, through traditions, we understand that some sins are considered as a big sins. For example, any sins that in Quran is promised that the sinner will be punished in hell. Allah is warning the committer of such sins to be punished in hell. This sin is considered as a big sin. This is one. Second, if we have in some traditions, authentic traditions, the one which is reliable, if they say if a person does commit such a sins, he will go to hell, also that sins will be considered as a big sin. So any sin that Allah has promised in Quran, the committer of that, the person who commits such a sin will be punished in hell. Or we have authentic or reliable, for example, traditions that this sin, whoever does such a sin, he will go to hell. Also, it shows that that sin will be considered as a big sin. So there is no difference. That Quran will tell us such a person goes to hell. It will show that sin is a big sin. Or traditions, a thin but reliable one, will say, if he says that a person who does such a sin will be punished in hell, also will show that sin is a big sin. Also, if in reliable tradition will tell us that this sin is bigger than the other sin, and that sin, the other one, is promised to a person who has committed such a things, will be promised to be in hell, either in Quran or reliable tradition, it will tell us that the sin which is considered bigger than that also is a big sin. For example, we have narration that says, Al-qaybatu ashaddu min az-zina. Backbiting is worse than committing adultery. And committing adultery is the sin that a person who does that is promised to be in hell. So it will tell us that ghibah, backbiting, which is considered bigger than that, also is a big sin. Another example, the narration says, Al-kizbu sharrun min al-sharab. Lying is worse than khamr, wine. So wine is something that a person who drinks, Allah has promised to be in hell and will be punished. And kizb, lying, is worse than that. It will tell us that lying also is a big sin. There are other examples for big sins that inshallah in next section I'm going to talk about them. Thank you very much for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.